Hello, I'm Dennis Green with Church Development. Welcome to our November 2023 webinar on writing your year-end appeal. It is a pleasure to be here with you and share these resources that are available on our website, church-development.com, listed here on this handout. If you go to church-development.com, you can download this resource as well as many other resources for your parish. We do church capital campaigns. I've conducted more than 200 over the past 32 years and have participated in raising more than $1 billion for churches. It has been an absolute pleasure. It's how I met my wife and many friends. As a consultant, I enjoy the opportunity to intersect with many different churches and learn from them. I feel like we are very different, at least the churches that we serve tell us that the church development approach is distinctly different from any other consultant they have encountered. Difference number one is that we focus on prayer and discernment rather than pressure. So the decision to give is based in prayer and discernment rather than pressure. We know that this is a good idea because we raise more money than anyone else, and regular offertory increases as a result of the focus on prayer and discernment. The second way that we're different is we begin with community building activities. Instead of divide and conquer, we pull everyone together to focus on our shared vision. I'm greatly influenced by those who have gone before us and have conducted research, who are thoughtful, intelligent people, like the author of The Road Less Traveled, Scott Peck, wrote a book on community building called The Different Drum. And in there, he said there's no greater way to pull a community of people together than to discuss our shared values and shared vision. And that's how we always proceed in serving a church in their capital campaign. We go for consensus building and engagement before we begin any fundraising. And we know that it works because weekly giving increases, we raise a ton of money, and people include the church in their estate plans as well. The third way that we're different is we pay a lot of attention to branding and social media presence. Now, this does require someone who's younger than me and smarter than me, and fortunately, I have coworkers who fit all of those. But here is an example. So what do you do for branding to keep the church in the forefront of consciousness of your members? Simple, inexpensive things. I've got 3 examples here. One from St. Paul's Episcopal Church. This is a 20-cent refrigerator magnet that reminds people of our shared vision. This is from Village Presbyterian Church. I remember I worked on that campaign when my daughter was born. This is from the Ignatian Spirituality Network, and it's a quote from St. Ignatius of Loyola. It's kind of the patron saint of discernment. His whole life rotated around the Ignatian exercises, which are basically discerning God's will in your life. We should be aware of the impact of the symbols that we have and their presence in people's lives. I did a capital campaign with Father Don Farnan. Actually, I've done 4 capital campaigns with him. And as a thank you gift recently, he gave away this Celtic cross to people who donated to the parish capital campaign. It doesn't cost very much, but it very much evokes the pleasant memories of that community. In another venue, this is a widow's mite coin from 2,000 years ago. It's a penny from the time of Jesus Christ. And I'm showing it to you because I'm going to give it to a friend of mine, a pastor, who frequently references the widow's mite in their end of the year stewardship homilies. I love artifacts like this. I'm a donor to a science group, have been since 1992, the Institute of Noetic Sciences, which studies the topics that we're talking about from an academic perspective. And this is a meteorite that's 4.5 billion years old. The organization was founded by an astronaut. So the symbolic nature of that gift and seeing it stuck to my file cabinet every day reminds me of where these very important organizations reside in my heart. I would like you to embrace that and be more deliberate about that, because it results in increased giving, which your church needs in order to grow in service to those who have joined you. My undergraduate studies were in organizational development, which helped inform me about how we go about doing community building. As my academic studies were on really the scientific application, the scientific method application to understanding discernment. I have a portable EEG machine. I put it on our study participants to see the brainwave frequency when they're in that discernment mode. My wife has warned me. She said, Dennis, you can go 0 to boring in 2.7 seconds. So try to say something interesting. I think it's fascinating. I think the role of the church in the science of happiness. If you read the book Flourish or the book Flow by Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, the church can make gigantic contributions to a person's well-being beyond their spirituality. The science of happiness tells us that belonging to a community and those long-term relationships have a gigantic impact on a person's well-being. I'm informed by the corporate world, like by books like Good to Great, and a study of the 11 top performing corporations between 1980 and 2000. Those are outperforming the market by a 7-to-1 factor. The Nobel Prize winning behavioral economist Daniel Kahneman and his research portrayed in the book Thinking Fast and Slow. Psychology, theorists like Maslow and the author who coined the term flow and the science of happiness. And theology, our work proceeds from 1 Peter 4:10, that acknowledges everything that we have as a gift from God. So we need to proceed with that attitude of gratefulness. And then the next question is, if I've got this gift, what do I do with that? For me, myself, as this came late in life, I accidentally wandered into a war zone in Angola after a 5-day float trip down the Congo River, where these two gentlemen thought I was a participant in the war and were going to kill me. Needless to say, they didn't kill me, but it was so traumatic, it shifted my outlook on life to orient towards the question, what do I do with the rest of my life? If this life is a gift, how do I proceed in my next breath? Since everything I have is a gift from God, what do I do with that fantastic gift? Well, I know that those of us who serve the church, we are like farmers who have to plant seeds in order to get all this good energy flowing. And the end of the year letter guide and checklist is a wonderful tool for you. I've learned a lot. I recently attended the annual conference of the International Catholic Stewardship Council, and I go to those conferences every year because I learned so much. And those of us who serve the church know that money is a form of energy, and we need that to flow through our ministries in order to get anything done. You can raise up to 10% of your total budget on a good year-end appeal. That's fantastic. So what should we do? Well, start thinking of the year-end giving could be, well, for a lot of nonprofit organizations, the flow of funds into the nonprofit organization. A typical nonprofit will raise 25 to 30%, as much as 50% of their total revenue between Thanksgiving and New Year's Day. So we should pay attention to those macroeconomics. So the number one reason that a church doesn't get money in that time period is they don't ask. So we really want to do a good job of planting the seeds. Now, part of this is science and part of this is art. For instance, when you do your year-end letter, the color of paper, the texture of the paper, the size of the envelope are just absolutely critical. They've got to be different from anything that anyone has encountered. That's ideal if it's hand addressed with a first class postage stamp. It's very interesting, but the nonverbal messages are more important than the words that are written on the paper. Isn't that interesting? So I think it's a good idea to keep it to one page. Think of yourself as a one-page wonder, okay? Make it brief and to the point, and ask, make sure that you ask in that letter. Share the good things that are going on. Make sure you reflect on the season, but then ask, okay? It must be personalized. It's got to say, "Dear Dennis and Jenny, the worst disaster that I've ever seen, which was produced by me, is producing a mail merge that has dear insert member's name here. That's a disaster. Don't do that." We had to throw all the letters away and start over. The science, the study of eye movement tells us that when people open a card or a letter and look at it, they look at who is it addressed to. If it's generic, they throw it away. If it has their name, they will at least scan and look at the signature and the PS. So what does that tell you? Make the letter brief, sign it in blue ink, and make sure that you have a PS that is a call to action. Not just flowery, enjoy the season, but do this and this and this. And in there, we want to ask for a year-end gift. Now, the symbols that I showed you earlier all have unique and different colors. The science of letter writing says make sure that you have a blue ink signature. It really pops. Look at the script at the bottom of this piece of paper. Church-development.com is in bright blue. People notice that, and that's an indicator to their brain that this is unique and one-off, therefore I should read it. The PS, this is a wonderful PS. Thank you for considering making a gift. Every gift of any amount helps us with our mission and ministry. Now, for a graduate level challenge, tell a story, even if it's just a few sentences. Talk about something that happened in the life of the church and use sensory-rich predicates, so visual, auditory, kinesthetic. Tell a story that they can imagine in their mind's eye. What did it look like? What did it sound like? And what did it feel like? Tell a story that is captivating. The best stories are about youth and children and their life within the church. Now, the make it pretty is it's a very important thing. You know, when I showed you this Celtic cross given away by my friend in a recent capital campaign, the colors and the textures and the beauty send a message to our subconscious that this is important, that we should pay attention to this. This is different. A bland piece of white paper does not send that message. So please select a beautiful color that will capture their attention and avoid any color that connotes anything negative. So you're safe if you go with the colors of the season. And since my name is green, my favorite color is green. Pick that for sure. In the research on influence, Cialdini, Cialdini, he has researched the science of persuasion. And what we say before we produce the call to action is very important. He, in his research, would say, begin with a thank you and acknowledge that we have a relationship. He calls it the dynamic of reciprocity. And he has 6 criteria: reciprocity, urgency, social proof, the likability of the person who's the author of the letter. We need to quote an authority, someone that is verifiably accurate. And it has, the final is V for values, has to be congruent with our values. I know it's hard to pack all that in a single page year-end letter, but that is your challenge. You're going to do this every single year from here on out. So you'll get better every single year. So practice with beginning to say thank you. Thank you for your past support. That calls into mind the relationship that you have, that and that dynamic of reciprocity. And that's how you begin and you reflect upon your relationship. Now, you can download and print this guide. It's available at church-development.com. Matter of fact, I've written 4 books and they are there as well. The most popular is our book, the Stewardship-Based Church Capital Campaign Guide. Since that's how I've spent most of my life, the last 32 years as a consultant for church capital campaigns, I have learned a lot, and I have the curiosity of an academic. And so we've kept track of best practices, what works and what does not work. So along those lines, I would encourage you to get the book, Why Catholics Don't Give by Charles Zeck. It is a reverse, it's like what an engineer would do, reverse analysis of a failure. Why do Catholics only give 1.2% of their income to their church, and Protestant denominations give over 2%? Why is that? One of my favorite churches I ever helped with a church capital campaign was Prince of Peace Parish in Kearney, Nebraska. The pastor, Paul Colling, is a brilliant guy and really likable as well. I was just conversing with him. We did their church capital campaign 2 years ago. We're in the 3-year follow-up period, and we're working on their year-end letter. Brilliantly, he said, let's do a 1-page annual report so people can see where their money went over the past year. Absolutely brilliant. And furthermore, he did it in a way that was a functional budget rather than a line item budget. So for instance, personnel is your largest expense. Rather than just say personnel costs, break it down by ministry. So Sunday morning had this percent of the budget. Youth education had this percent. Adult formation had this percent. Music had this percent. So then people can get a sense of where did my money go in the past year. So Father Paul's a brilliant guy and fun. And in his last note, he said, I just happened to get a free trip to Rome next month. I said, man, can I go with you? What a fun trip that would be. Okay, all right, wrapping it up, looking at our checklist and our final thoughts. Please keep it to 1 page. Use a mail merge to make sure that it's addressed. The best thing is just hand address it. Make sure you got a blue ink signature. Include a bold PS. That's a call to action. That's a summary. In the body of the text, it'd be great if you could tell a story that remind people of what we have in common. Make it look nice. Make it look festive. Have a border. Have something that relates to the season. And say thank you, either with words or in perhaps even a little thank you gift, like one of the things I showed. It'd be nice if you could share some of the highlights of the past year. I really love Father Paul's idea about the annual report. Let them know where their money went and how it had a magnificent impact on people. Talk about year-end giving in other ways that support this letter. So make an announcement at church, put it in the bulletin, send out an email, be looking for this letter. We've discovered that a constellation of activities, a paradigm, a system really uplifts your outcome. So if people know it's coming and they've heard it mentioned, so they're looking for it in the mail, that seems to help a lot. The timing is very important. It's got to land between Thanksgiving and the end of the year. That's when people are feeling most generous. So give that some thought. It's a very interesting subject, but the number one month for nonprofit fundraising revenue is the month of December. The second biggest month, according to the statistics from the American Society, the AFP, the Association of Fundraising Professionals, used to be another name. But anyway, they do a lot of research. Anyway, the number 2 month is January. And I think it's because a lot of people write a check in January, post dated to back in December, so they get the tax benefit. So your request landing in that window between Thanksgiving and December 31 is super important. So plan that so it coincides with the time of generosity. Uh, they can note and designate this as a year-end gift. Give them a thank you note uh, afterwards that acknowledges that you gave the church a Christmas gift. I personally like the language. That last bullet there, ask people to consider making a Christmas gift to the church. I think that's a great idea, because the rest of that sentence is, please consider making a Christmas gift to church, because the church certainly feels like you are a member of the family as well. So, so these are some really good, successful systems to create your year-end ask letter. Now, if you need help on this, or if you need help with a church capital campaign, please call me or email me. Or, you can take a look at church-development.com and use our array of resources. You could sign up for our monthly stewardship system. So you'll receive monthly resources to help your stewardship activities year round at no cost. It is our way of giving back in gratitude to those that we serve. So thank you so much for joining me today. Don't hesitate to call or email. I am at your disposal, the work I love and the people that I love. So call me anytime. Good luck, go forth, and God bless. Bye-bye.